All right, I'm recording.
By continuing to be the meeting, you're consenting to be recorded. Did you get that message?
No, it's only on your other side. That's a new
That's
feature.
fine. That is a new feature. And what's up, friends? I am so tired, and we missed you, friends, but it has been so good to transition and to get into this craziness of bivocational ministry. But we are back. Welcome back to the table of church.
It's been a minute.
It sure has. It's been at least a month. We were like, hey, we're taking a small break, and then we'll get back into it. And so we recorded like 2 episodes, and we were like, we got plenty of time to record more.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves because I think this discussion is gonna be involved with our main topic today. But
that's for sure.
Yeah, we've been quite busy. Although I have been trying to not use that word as much. I feel like busy. This is like you don't have to be busy. You choose to be busy.
Very true. We've just had things. We've had things coming up, but like Ryan said, we'll catch that in the latter half of this episode. But we'll go with our flow. For those of you who have tuned in before, you guys know how this goes. We like to catch up, talk about our lives, and obviously there has been a lot. So take as long as you need, Ryan. I shall do the same, but go for it. Tell me what's up with you. How's life since our last moment
Dude, I don't even
contact?
remember the last time we talked. It was probably the beginning of June.
Either end of May or beginning of June is what
yeah.
I'm thinking too.
So for those of you who might be new or you've been keeping up with my family situation, unfortunately, my father-in-law did pass away last month, in early July. So that's been a big part of what has been keeping me busy. 2 weekends ago, we went out to Missouri for 2 funerals. We did the same. It was so good we had to do it twice. I know that's a joke about a funeral, but at this point, it's kind of it's part of processing. No, it was really good. I mean, it was sad and extremely emotionally draining, more emotionally draining than I even anticipated. And it's been hard on our family for a lot of different reasons. But at the same time, it's been good. It's kind of allowed us to have some kind of closure. It's allowed us to have some conversations with my kids about death and dying and heaven and hell and salvation. I actually had a talk with my daughter last night about, asked her if she wanted to ask Jesus into her heart, and she said no, she's not ready. So um so yeah, it's definitely opened some doors to talk about that kind of stuff. And then also ministry has just been busy. We've been meeting mostly weekly throughout the summer for the table. We both have been had a lot of scheduling conflicts. This last weekend, I was part of a district event. We hosted a young adult retreat in San Diego, and I organized that as well. And the fun thing is, well, not the fun thing is, I was planning on taking some time off from my other job, but because we had to go out the weekend before for the funeral, I didn't have any more vacation days. So it was like a working retreat. So while like during the day, while everybody's out like going to the beach and having fun, I was in like my room working on my computer and getting stuff done. So so yeah, it's just part of the life that we're living now as bivocational pastors. That's the highlights. I feel like there's a ton I'm missing out on. There's a ton I'm forgetting. My kids are starting school. My son just started kindergarten this week, which is crazy. My daughter starts preschool again next week. Yeah, we're excited to have some child free time during the day at my house. And And then once again, we'll get into this probably at the end. Just a little thing called our launch service is coming up in a couple weeks, so that's been a lot of mental and physical energy as well. So yeah, man, what about you?
You know, I was I'm glad I got to go second. Got to think about all the things that this last couple months has been, and just like you, Ryan, we've had many high moments these past few months to celebrate, and some lows as well. I think it was kind of like a back-to-back gut punch for you and I, with Dan's passing, and a week or so later, I think timing wise, I can't exactly remember. Everything's kind of been a blur. But my wife had a miscarriage, that was hard. Um, but just how God kind of moves and is in through all things. I was really blessed. I'm a part of this mentoring coaching group right now that our district churches invited me to be a part of. It's like West Coast wide. I got a guy from like Florida, or not Florida, the other tropical state,
Broncos.
Hawaii, like California, Oregon, Arizona, all over the West. And we all get together every other week and we just discuss life. And then once a month, I meet with like a single guy, not a single guy, he's married, but a single person to have
One,
conversation with. One
yeah,
individual.
one on one.
One-on-one. There you go. I'm tired. I've been up since 5 this morning. But and so surprisingly, literally the week before kind of all this news happened for both Ryan and I in our lives, all this, pain, honestly, and suffering for us as individuals and families, I had been given the opportunity to share and just to talk with my group. And I broke down in the middle of our group and I'm like, I'm tired. We're planning a church. We're full time. We're working hard. I'm trying to be a good spouse. And this is before anything had happened in both of our lives, Ryan. I don't even know if I told you this. Like, that's how crazy life has been. But
This is
I was
news.
able to just speak and to cry and just to hear from them encouragement and kind of some critique of like, hey, you're doing good things. Make sure that you're staying into devotions. Make sure you're making time for your spouse. Which then a week later, I think I took my wife on a date for the first time in 3 months. So it was like it's all good. But like that moment was exactly what I needed. I think God was in that, knowing what's coming and how I was able to handle the next few weeks really well because I had kind of been recharged in those moments. But outside of that, it has been great to prepare and to preach Sundays for our church. It's been even better to sit and to listen to Ryan and Alicia bring it, and it's nice to be able to share that responsibility and that load, and to be able to go to church. And I look forward to Sundays. I get like excited as I clean the house with my wife before with our new vacuum mop. um,
We need to do an episode on the vacuum mop, man.
we just need to do a straight episode, and maybe Bissell will sponsor us and buy one for each house.
It's a hero of our ministry.
It is it makes everything so quick. But yeah, I just bought a new mop head for it. It's got like rubber bristles intertwined, so it helps pick up the dog hair better. Yeah. Outside the point.
We've hit our broad audience right now.
We've hit it right there. And in celebration, 2 weeks ago now, I officially was given the stamp of approval on my job. I am an official 911 operator, certified, so I can take all 911 calls any day of the week if they need me, which has been great. But unlike most of the other trainees who have come before me, typically they give you a few months on your own, which is nice because then you have consistency to just do the one task. But I had 4 days, and then they threw me right into academy. And so starting this Monday, I restarted, and I'm in the radio academy, which is great because that means that I'm closer to being done. But no consistency until December probably.
And honestly, you guys, I mean, seriously, like mad props to Trevor. He's got like a real job. Not to say that I don't have a real job, but I have much more flexibility. I can go to San Diego and do my work. And obviously when people call me for my job, I'm not like talking people down off the ledge or
I
anything like that.
I did have a trainee listening to me today, which was weird, because I was the trainee 2 weeks ago. And after, they're like, "Wow, that was so good. You handled that domestic situation so good." I'm like, but once you get trained, you just ask the questions. Like, you just stay low, keep
Yeah.
them low, keep them, and tell them to separate. You just get the information. That's good. It's been good. But man, like you had said, it is the both of us. I don't know how we've accomplished what all we have, other than with, obviously God on our side, our team being so great. And I would, shout out to Megan and Rochelle for being wonderful, loving spouses who
Yeah.
probably have given us more grace than we deserve in this season of life.
I don't know. We got him a gift last week, so they can't say we didn't get him anything. Um, big news over here at the table. We officially have a storage unit, so
Yep.
our wives can no longer complain about church
No
stuff being
storage in the
everywhere.
garage. That is right. I actually still need to move half the other stuff that's still in the garage. I just haven't had that time.
Yeah,
This week.
no, I have a pile of things by the door that are gonna go tomorrow. So
Yeah. Well, that is the catch up there. It was a lot, probably more than any of our past episodes. And we apologize for the delay here. Like we had said, our whole goal was to be podcasting every other week. But that
they're,
leads us into our topic.
they're getting what they paid for. That's
That's
all I'm
right.
gonna say.
Nothing.
So,
But that leads us into our topic of bivocational pastoring. Um, and, you know, right off the top, I think like the first point beyond everything is like time management and like what's a priority. And obviously
yeah.
in this category, the podcasting fell to the bottom. Not because we don't like it, because I think we both enjoy the conversation we get to have.
Oh, definitely.
Like for those of you who are maybe new here or haven't tuned in a bit, Ryan and I do meet every week. We have staff meeting. We do talk outside of this
Yeah.
podcast. But
Yeah.
at least for me, when I'm in this moment of podcasting, I can kind of take a step back from what we've done and kind of look at it from a different angle, be a bit more analytical and just like talk it out rather than like we're doing it, we're working it. I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it's the same for you,
Yeah.
Ryan,
No,
but
I think that's a good point. Like, I mean, when we meet, I mean, I think we have good conversations, but they're just not in the podcast format. And
yeah.
honestly, even like when we like get on the podcast, because we're doing this over Zoom, even though we live 10 minutes from each other, um, we like I had to like fight the urge. Like I gave like Trevor like 3 updates on like things I've been doing beforehand, but I was like, I gotta like hold off on because I don't want to turn it into a staff meeting. I want it to be kind of like a staff meeting isn't a podcast and a podcast isn't a staff meeting. Because yeah, those are different things. And yeah, we really do enjoy having this, but it's kind of like when time is a commodity that you have to manage, it's an easy thing to not prioritize as much because um yeah, we have just have other things that are
Yeah.
pressing.
Yeah.
Like until like 2 weeks ago, I wasn't 100% sure we were going to have a building for our launch service. So like that stuff just takes precedent and
Mm-hmm.
when we're talking about stuff.
Yep. Launch, the planning the launch, getting the building for the launch, like our weekly staff meetings, preparing sermons, doing church every week. Like those things take precedence in the church plant. But there's others. There's our job that we
Yeah.
both are now paid to do, our family, and in the family. But that's also kind of a separate thing, is our spouse, and making sure that we're both of us are being good husbands. And for Alicia, who we need to probably bring Alicia into some of these
Yeah,
conversations now too,
we're
other than being 3 hours apart.
I mean, that was like actually one of the things I was going to say that we should do tomorrow is we should just record another podcast with that
So,
Alicia. But then you told me that you had to time is kind of a you have a bit of a time crunch tomorrow. So.
Well, we could talk about it later, but maybe during nap time we'll figure it out.
Okay.
if the kid goes down.
Oh, not your
but
nap time. I mean,
I will probably need one tomorrow too, but I'll forego it with a cup of coffee. But yeah, I mean, obviously time management and kind of like laying down the order of importance in our life between the church plant, which is a job in itself. We don't want to ever downplay like, oh, this is just something we do. It's just a hobby. It's not. Like, we're
definitely.
committed to doing this. It's there's definitely been moments in my mind in the last 2 years where I'm like, well, I could just like do it once a week. But I found myself during many night shifts about 3 and 4 in the morning when it got quiet. You don't say that word in dispatch. You don't say the Q word. But when it got quiet, sorry, friends, if it's going off right now. Just like I'm starting to take notes. I'm reading through the next week's scripture. I'm reading the emails that Ryan sent me that I'm super far behind on. Or
always emails.
Yeah, emails are great because you can read them later or reread them. But then, coming home and trying, to be a good spouse in the midst of kind of our trauma that we both have gone through in this last year. It's important that we're good husbands, and it's important that we're good dads to our family. And then, I still like going to work out, and I still like playing hockey. And where do all these things fall on the ladder, and where do we, put them in? Where, playing hockey is not a necessity, but physical exercise is probably something that we need every so often.
Yeah, I actually just recently in the last month rejoined the gym that we had been a part of for a long time. And just with last week getting everything ready for San Diego, and then this week just my kids starting school, and once again trying to get stuff ready for the launch. I didn't go until tonight, until right before we jumped on this call. So if I look disheveled, that's why. But yeah, it's one of those things like where, and like while I was like there, while I was like going there, I was like, I don't want to be here. but like after I finished, I was like, all right, I'm really glad that I did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, time management I think is the main thing. What about you? Like, what do you think about like as far as like, oh, this was my expectation of being a bivocational pastor, as opposed to reality? Do you think that it's kind of lived up to what you thought it would be, or
well, I think there's
better or
definitely
worse?
two mindsets. There are moments in time where I was so thankful that all I had was a ministry job, where all I was paid for was being the youth pastor at Tempe. Because there were some weeks in the summer or, in the crazy moments of youth life that, and every youth pastor can relate, right? You work 80 plus hours, you're going to camp, you're working every day for, 5 days straight, because even though you try to go to bed, the kids don't sleep or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like we all get those moments. And then so there were other days where, man, I just worked 2 straight weeks of camp back in the day. I'm taking the next week of like 10 hours a week because I'm exhausted, and I'm going to do what I need to do to get ready for Wednesday and Sunday and whatever is required of me that week. But I'm not going anywhere above and beyond right now because I'm just mentally and physically exhausted. Which that was amazing in ministry. Whereas now there are also moments where one of the greatest things, and I know that obviously we have totally different positions in our bivocational life, Ryan, but the minute I clock out at currently 3:53, because you can clock out 7 minutes early, then it doesn't count. It doesn't count against you.
Oh,
so at 3:53 p.m. every day, that's it. My brain is off of work, and I can go on to thinking about Carson. I can go on to thinking about Rochelle, the church plant, whatever else I need to do. Whereas in ministry, you flexed, you worked big hours some weeks, you didn't others. Whereas, it's a pro con on both ways. I worked 40 hours regardless. Unless I'm taking a sick week or using vacation time, I'm there for 4 days a week, 10 hours a day. And so there's definitely, what works better for some people. I think to, our friend Will Hathaway, he's been full-time PD for 24 years or something like that. And not full-time, but a bivocational pastor.
Question: Did Will have hair when he started?
Yes. So that may be why he does it. But yeah, so like he's been full-time more than 40 hours a week, because he's obviously done overtime for a long time, but he did full-time ministry for a bit in that stint, youth pastoring, and then he just did a church restart in 2019, right before COVID. And they restarted a church, and he's still working full-time. And so
No, actually, I think they did that in COVID.
I think it was 19, right before COVID is
No,
when
you know why I
was it
know
August?
I know why, because
Yes.
I preached the Sunday before Will started there,
Right. Yeah, right. It was
and
like May.
that was the Sunday before everything shut down.
You're right. You're right. He yeah, you're right, because September is when he left Tempe to start that process. He was a pastor. Those of you who don't know, long story short, Will
Yeah,
is a great friend of both of ours, but he and I worked together for 5 years at Tempe. He was associate pastor there, and he took a church in Chandler. He's done some great things with it. We've had many conversations, but I think, for that question of expectations, um, it's a both and for me specifically. There have
yeah,
been some very like, again, it's not to say that um, the first month of academies for my radio and my phones academies were easy in comparison to the rest of the stuff we're doing. They're easy because it's book work, it's reading, it's practicing. You're not being graded at all, and you're just learning. And so you get a bit more time during the day, even though I have phone jail basically, which Ryan knows. But basically, you can't use your phone at all during those times at work, which is totally understandable because you're learning so much. So there's those moments where I feel like during academy months, it's way more consistent, and I had a whole lot more time to think and do church things. Whereas this last, 3 or 4 months that I was in my actual training was the opposite
hmm
of, man, I was switching my schedule every 2 weeks from like literal 6 a.m. to 4 p.m.s to 8 p.m. to 6 a.m.s on a day's notice. I would have a day or two to reset my whole sleep schedule and right back into it. And there just was not the consistency. Maybe that's what's missing, is consistency. I could do nights if it was consistent. I could do the early mornings if it was consistent. But because during this training period for me specifically, it's been, we want to expose you to every type of call during every type of the day, because people call 911 24 hours a day. We don't close. Crisis happens, people need the doctor or the paramedics, and we help get them there. And so I thought during my night shifts that I would have had more time to I had to what would you say, during the night shifts, I thought I had more time to um, prepare and do sermons. But about 3 to 4, 5 in the morning, you get tired, and
drunk people gonna drunk people.
oh yeah, and so it was this weird moment of, again, that consistency thought of, I would get to that place if I had to do it for 6 months to a year, where I would totally be able to just plug in, okay, during these times when the phones begin to die down, or there's not a lot of admin stuff that needs to be taken care of, I can go through and read some scripture. I can go through and prepare some sermons. I can write up and draft some emails, look at budgets. But it just didn't happen this time around. And that's not my fault. That's not anybody's fault. It's just,
That's understandable.
yeah.
FYI.
Yeah. And I think that's where my expectation, kind of what I thought going into this was, oh yeah, I'm going to work this job 40 hours a week, but I'm going to sneak in some church time. And it didn't happen as much. I did read scripture, our preaching scripture through Samuel. I did read that during my work hours, during lunch or during those lull times. But I definitely did not have the capacity in my mind to like prepare a sermon during that time. So,
Yeah.
what about you?
Well, there is one thing that I don't think you mentioned, but I am a little envious of you in that uh, I am still working in ministry. So I feel like one of the things that's been really cool to hear your stories is just the way that you've had opportunity to minister to people and to share the story of the table and what it means to be a pastor and what it means to be
Yeah.
somebody who is working in the workforce, but at the same time ministering as well.
Yeah. Well, one of the like crazy enough, like a story today that happened at work. So we've been hiring police recruits to join the force, and they don't start till September. But instead of like, hey, you're hired, you start September. Now figure it out between then and now. We've decided to bring everyone who's kind of passed the backgrounding and is like officially in. We've given you the offer. They come and they help do admin. And so they sit in records and they help record process, or they come sit in the dispatch room for a week and they just sit and they listen to phone calls. They watch how the radios worked to expose them to the kind of the backside of what they'll be doing. Because really what I'm learning right now is police work is 50-50. It's the front end of the coin being the officers on duty and in the junk, and the other side of that coin is a dispatcher who is helping write warrants or helping clear warrants, gathering information from other agencies, running people to figure out, hey, and then, people can have their own opinions about police or whatever. Like, I'm not going to say one thing or not. This is not a pro or a con. I'm just saying this is how it's working. But when an officer pulls somebody over, that is such an anxiety inducing moment for them, because for however long it takes me to get them the information, they don't know who's in that vehicle, And you never really will know, but until you pull their driver's license number and then I'll run them, we don't know if they're a felon who might, have dangerous, violent tendencies. It might be, Barbara Walters, who is sitting there like, oh, I'm this clean old lady. I was just speeding home from the grocery store to get my husband his hemorrhoids cream.
Oh, that's oddly specific, Trevor. You have a story behind that?
Maybe. But and it's all over the place. But there's definitely the backside of that coin that I'm realizing how much is on my shoulders to be accurate and fast at my job to get officers the information to help them know how to, okay, when I handle the situation, if this person, and it's hard because being a pastor, I also believe in grace, and I really want to give people an opportunity, but it's a dangerous world, and I don't think it's as dangerous as the news might make it out to be, or some people might say it is, but there are dangerous people.
Yeah.
And they're dangerous people who are not incarcerated that I've learned about. And I can't probably talk too much more because again, I don't want to open a can of worms, but to the story of the point that I was trying to make. So that was kind of a tangent. Today, I'm sitting there doing my stuff. I'm learning a lot, so I'm actually practicing what I've been taught. I start hearing these recruits talk about church, and I'm like, what? No one does this on the floor. You'd have to have a conversation with somebody and eventually get to that moment of, oh yeah, I go to church, or no, church isn't for me, which has been the case for many people. But these recruits are sitting there just oh, I go to, Grace Community. Oh, I go to Crossroads. And I'm like, but you guys are talking about church? Yeah, we go to church here in the Valley. I'm like, I'm literally a pastor. And so I'm like, I'm starting a church with my friends and my family, and they're like, what? No way. And so I don't have any out here. They're on the kitchen, but I have our invite card to our launch service that I've actually posted and pasted on my locker. And so, yep, there it is. If you're watching the YouTube, it's right there. And so I was able to show them and be like, see, this is where we're at. I showed them our website. I got to show them our pictures, kind of what we're doing. I'm like, I'm legit. actual reverend. I've done the schooling. I've been approved by my denomination, and they've said, yes, we believe in this person as a minister of the gospel. Blew their minds because they're like, what? That's crazy. Because their understanding, their church history was mega church, big church. These people
Yeah.
who the pastor, that's all pastors were, that's what they did. They were paid pastors. And for them to be like, wait, you're like a dispatcher who is a pastor, like,
Yeah.
shocked them. And so, I don't know if they're coming. I hope they are. But it was this really, really cool moment of like, they were just talking openly because they didn't really have work. They're doing things, so I don't want to downplay what they're not doing or doing. But the fact that we were just able to, they opened that can of worms, and I swooped in there and was like, "Well, hey, I heard you said the C word. I'm coming in church."
That's awesome. And then yeah, I just think that's a great opportunity. But I know that I mean, you don't need to get into too much, but I know you've mentioned more than one time that, you've had conversations with people who either never have attended church, or maybe they used to, but they don't really do it anymore.
Mhm.
Or I think that's great. I work for a ministry, so basically it's assumed that you go to church where I work. Our office is pretty small, so there's usually only 3 to 4 of us in the office at a time. If we have 5 people, that's a lot. Uh, but yeah, it's just kind of one of those things like, yeah, what did you do at church this weekend? Like, it's a pretty normal conversation. I mean, I love my job. I love that. And I believe in the things that we're doing. But it's one of those things like, when I originally was like, oh, I'm going to work bi-vocational, I was like, oh, I'm going to have this huge mission field. And I do have a mission field. It's through the things that I create, and the stuff that I do on social media and stuff like that. It's just not the people I work with. But um so all that to say is that I think part of my expectations changed in that aspect. But I still believe that, this is where God wants us. Um and honestly, I'm not working full time my other job. I'm only 25 hours a week. So I have freedom to do things like go and meet with people and sign paperwork and go to Home Depot and pick up more junk, which we've been doing a lot. I've been doing a lot of lately. So um, I think, and then actually, one of the things that I appreciate about my position now is that, yeah, I do have that flexibility. But at the same time, I do understand that that there's something nice about the whole. I think it was Doug Fields. Those of you who don't know who Doug Fields, he's like a big guy in youth ministry. I've heard him speak more than one time, but he's like, yeah, I used to drive past the McDonald's every night and be like, it must be nice. When you clock out, you're done. Like, you don't go home thinking about, you didn't make that hamburger fast enough, or the milkshake machine was broken again, or something like that. Like, it's just when you're done, you're done. So
Yeah.
there is something nice about that as well.
It's really it's again, it's a both and, because there are many days that I'm like so thankful that I don't have to bring work home with me any longer. And the funny thing is like, we're church planting, so the church plant is work, and it's different, obviously, but um, it's not my all day every day like it was. But there are definitely days when work, like, we're getting up to this launch, and I'm like, man, I just wish I had 5 days every day, to I could invest on my time and effort. You know, I know obviously our roles are, we're still kind of managing and figuring these out, but like, Ryan does a lot more than I do. And not because I'm lazy, or not because I'm just pushing things off to him, but you just have more time than I do right now.
I mean, it's the season we're in. I mean, I don't mind. I think that, I'm okay with it. So I don't feel like I'm upset about that. But I think it's one of
Open
those things that,
to the table counseling session now.
yeah.
You're opening the book.
Well, here's the thing. Actually, like with your job, like I just can't wait until like your schedule. That's my biggest frustration with your job. Is just like I literally don't know your schedule week to week
Actually,
most of the
same.
time. And um Cody, for those of you who maybe listen to the episode, we had Cody on more than one time. He'll text and I'll be like, oh, Trevor's working. He can't talk right now. And he's like, I thought he was his day off was Wednesday. I'm like, that was last week. This week it's different or whatever.
Yeah, no, that is so true. And I mean, that is a frustration on all ends for myself, for my wife. Like
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's double for you guys.
this is the first weekend that I've had where it has been on a weekend. Um, and like I get to spend time with my wife and my kid this weekend. Um, like, I mean, I'm jam packed tomorrow already, but like the thought of the next 3 weeks now, not having to do anything on a Friday for the first time, and I don't even know how long. It, you know, I mean, there's pros and cons because now it's a weekend, so we got the kid, we've got to clean, we got busy things to do. When I was working weekend nights, my weekend was Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so when Carson went to school, I had way more time to do church things during that time. So it's like this flex of there's not really the greatest schedule for church wise. It makes sense to have my weekend, quote unquote, be on during the midweek because that means that I literally have this 7 hours every day that it's me time, so I can do church stuff or I can sleep.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sleep is important.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think I was actually, as I was driving home, I don't even know, maybe a week or so ago now, I am so thankful that both you, Ryan, and Alicia are on the team, are committed to the vision, they're sold out. And then I am also so thankful for our team, our core team, our launch team who has gathered together, has taken up tremendous responsibility, from Joel being worship leader and graphic designer, the Aarons being our food food team, everyone stepping up and doing childcare and children's church, week by week. And obviously there's things that are slipping through the cracks of I can't even think what everybody does, but everybody does so much. There is no way, I mean, I'll say that again. There is no way that I would be ready for this August without everyone that has been around us, and specifically Ryan and Alicia, who have done so much to help lead and prepare us for what's coming. That's for those of you who are going into this season of your life or thinking about it or praying about it. I mean, that is something to consider if you're going to go bi-vocational and you're ready for it. If you're in a traditional sense church where you show up and you do Wednesday nights with youth and Sunday mornings and you work a job during the week, maybe it's different. But if you're looking at planting a church, if you're looking to do, house churches, micro model, traditional model, coffee house, whatever, make sure you have a great team around you. And we've kind of talked about that, kind of building our team, who's on our team. But I think it's been God through and through, right? That has totally blessed us with the leadership and the guidance and the support of those who would join us week in and week out.
Yeah, and I think like one of the things I've kind of just come to realize and appreciate, like, we're both working hard, we're both doing stuff, and Alicia as well, and then everybody from our team, like, and the truth is like if stuff falls through the cracks and things aren't done exactly the way we want them to be done, in the end, it's not that big of a deal. In the end, you know, things are gonna not go right at some point, and just learning how to be like, okay, we're moving on to the next thing. And so I think that's the biggest thing is like I think I've learned to give myself some more grace and things like that, and just realizing like, yeah, I don't have the amount of time that I used to have, and
I think it also gives you like a perspective of what is actually important in church.
yeah.
And I mean, we don't need to discuss that because everybody can think of the things that aren't important, right? There are all the bickers and the paint color, whatever. But when you begin to realize your time is limited and you have to figure out, on that order of importance that we had talked about earlier, when you show up in your gathering time, whether that's Sunday morning or night or midweek, what's important? Making Christ-like disciples, loving people, sharing the gospel. These things begin to change, and I mean, really, for me, it's like I wouldn't say that I'm a great discipler, and I wouldn't say that I'm an evangelistic, big charismatic guy that just goes out like Mark Bain and knocks on someone's door or shows up to the laundromat yet. But I totally take a different perspective on my conversations and my interactions, and I mean, there, it's managing that. How much time do I actually have? But
Yeah. And like, I mean, like, so like, I just an example just popped in my head. Like, oh, you weren't there. I forget this. This is like a couple weeks ago when Trevor was working swings, and we were having service, and we had a 12-year-old doing our slides, and he didn't know what he was doing, and things kept just messing up. And I had my back to the screen, and I knew that stuff wasn't going right, but I just chose, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna ignore it. I'm gonna preach through it, and in the end, it's not that big a deal. It's a little distracting. If I was at like big church, big traditional kind of church, it would drive me nuts, and I would be like, I'd be afraid that like people think we were like unprofessional and we didn't know what we were doing and stuff like that. But I was just like, you know what? Whatever. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Um, and it was okay. It's,
yeah.
I'm sure, I'm sure, I don't know. It's just one of those things that like the thing that like would have driven me crazy, would have made me super nervous when I was working at my last church or my last couple churches. I was just like, whatever, it's okay.
Well, it's the same with just kids, right? Like, I think about every traditional church you've probably been in, and kids go to kids' church or they go to the nursery or they need to sit quietly in the pews, and you watch the mom like smack the kid with the newspaper or the bulletin.
Yeah.
But I mean, my wife, she posted on social media about it, that how it is the complete opposite, and to like, it is distracting sometimes, but to give a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old shakers or tambourines and to just worship and to have our worship team just plow through and go, and to hear the harmonies sung throughout the, the living room. It does my heart well to watch my son worship. And yeah, like, he doesn't understand it all, and he's not a theologian because he's two, not even 2.5. He's literally like 2 and 3 or 4 months at this point. But for him to do all that, and then every night for him to now understand this, like, okay, 1 2 3, let's pray, like, we're doing these things, and it's not just because of Rochelle and I, but because every Sunday he gets to experience church in this community. I wouldn't change it. And for, Caleb and Paisley to jam out and to rock, for Logan and Cody to be our slide masters. Might not be the best, but they're doing it because they want to serve.
Yeah, exactly.
It's this moment where we are all a part of it, and it is this happy mess. And one of the things that I've had to reiterate to myself, and that one of my, what I was talking about, like my coaching thing a while ago, when my coach had to tell me and had me write down, it's right here off to my right, is no asterisks. There's not going to be a sign on the door that says, beware, it'll be noisy, or there are children. This is how it is. If you don't like it, I'm more than willing to talk and sit with you and hear your concern. But at the end of the day, it's not changing. My 2-year-old is welcome to come into worship and express himself in this goofy dances. And he's also welcome to sit there and whine and be held by my wife because he's overwhelmed in the scenario. But what's great is, like, Megan or Jessica or Beth, any of these people, I can't deal with them. Can you take it for 5 minutes? Totally will. I can't fathom any other type of ministry and any other type of church right now than what we are currently doing. And that goes in line with like this bivocational um, mess that we're in. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a bad word to use, but like it is. I don't know if anybody can tell through the podcast, or I bet you more than anything that my team, definitely my wife, can tell. I am happier every day. I was getting burnt out, and it wasn't that I didn't like ministry, or wasn't that I didn't like Tempe, because I love Tempe. I just showed up a couple weeks ago to help with a baptism service, and it was great to be back and celebrate that. But like, I'm not stressed. I go to work every day. I get a paycheck. It's great, and I get excited about going to church and serving and doing this new thing. And yes, there is stress that comes with all of that is planting, but um, like
Yeah.
it's not a burden on me. The stress isn't a burden. It's there, but it's not weighing me down. It's not draining me and making me exhausted and making me wish like I did anything else other than this. And I don't. I understand that was not a healthy place for me to be in. But
Yeah.
2020 was a hard year for everybody, and so I think it was extenuated because of obvious things.
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that, I mean, and to be honest, like we've both been doing this for a few months. I mean, we might have to do this topic next year or something. Like we'll see how we're feeling then. There's been times where in the last couple of weeks where I've been like, oh man, I wish this was the thing that I was doing, like church planning. But then I'm like, I don't know. I just it doesn't, like, it's like for this season, I wish this was the thing. But I also love the other things that I'm doing as well. So yeah, I feel like it's like, oh, if I just had if I could just take a month, this would be the month because we're getting ready to launch. Um, but then again, it's like, I don't know. I feel like we're putting all the effort into the wedding day and not thinking about the marriage. so, um, so yeah, I don't know.
That is a great way to put it, because at the end of the day, August 22nd will come and it will go.
Yeah,
Just like any other day. Obviously, it's special to us. It's a day that we probably won't forget. But what does August 22nd, 2024 look like?
yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm assuming it's gonna be good. Um, but the truth is that the next week we're doing church again. Yeah, it's hopefully it's the first of many Sundays that we get to be a part of the table. And yeah, I think we've kind of hit this one as good as we're gonna get it tonight.
Yeah, and
Uh,
we're already going into that final kind of closing topic of launch Sunday,
yeah,
August 22nd, 2021. Whether you're listening to this before that or after that, that is our launch Sunday. You can head on over to our website at thetablenaz.church/launch to check out a little secret page.
yeah, yeah.
Do not sign up if you're out of state and you're not planning on coming, please.
Or if you've already signed up, don't do it again. Let's
Yes,
just
but
say
if you
that's
are
happened.
planning on coming, just that'd be great if you could sign up so we would know. But man, we are stoked. We have worked for nearly 2 years. Um, I loved the post. I don't know if it was you or Alicia that shared it, but like literally
It was me.
a year ago, we were up at Pine Rock at August 20, around August 22nd, and I posted a photo of our like cabin retreat the day of our launch this year, which is coming
Yeah,
up. And so, God is working through it. We've been diligent. Ryan, you connected and found the New Hope Community Center, which has been a blessing, and I think it'll fit our needs for exactly what we're using and going for right now. Whether we're there for 10 years or 10 months, I think it's going to be exactly what we need during this time.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I'm excited. We've got some great stuff. I need to do a follow up tomorrow, but we got an inflatable guy that's going to do like some inflatables and like provide snow cones for our launch Sunday,
Oh,
which is awesome.
that's news.
Did I not put that in the email? Sorry. He said
No,
he's going to do some snow cones for us,
awesome.
including in the cost, which is great. And he's given us a great deal. He believes in church planting and believes in what we're doing. And so he wanted to help be a part of that. We're still working on our food truck people, but the last I've heard is that the date is secured. Not much past that for this afternoon. Comforting. We're getting there.
For what it's worth, we have some people coming to do some tacos.
That's the hope.
Yeah. Once again, this is news to me.
Yes.
I tried to call to verify the reservation, and I got hung up on because I don't speak Spanish. So I'm hoping that's a good sign because it's legit.
Yes. Oh, it's amazing tacos. I've had them before. They're the best. But yeah, from we're getting that together. Ryan just went in and signed some paperwork for the building. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, shout out to Broadway Christian Church and New Hope Community Center. They're renting their building to us for a very, very reasonable price. They believe in church planting. They planted a church last year. They're trying to plant another church. Yeah, it's honestly, we couldn't have asked for a better partner for what we're doing right now.
Exactly. And the location prime, right next to some brand new 0-lot homes that we'll be able to spam with plenty of paper.
Yeah, that's on the to-do list.
It is. But yeah, as we build up and we get ready, Ryan said earlier he went to California and got to hang out in young adult camp. But, kind of like a little tag on that is he got to test out all of our brand new equipment that we were able to obtain over these last few weeks and months. A huge shout out to Matt Dennis on our Arizona district who helped us acquire that and prepare that and set it all up for us. It's like 2-3 suitcases of just roll and go, right?
It all can fit in my Honda Civic. It is not ideal, but the fact that it can fit in my Honda Civic is pretty impressive.
That's very true. And it's a small Honda Civic. It's not like one of those big beefy ones that are out today.
Yeah, no, it's so it's, I mean, I wrote an email to our bookkeeper today, basically apologize. Like, we've been on a bit of a spending spree, because but a lot of it's like we're buying stuff that we're hopefully going to be using for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, so it feels like it's kind of like one of those like, ooh, I don't want to spend that money right now, but the goal is that it's a one-time cost and we're not going to have to be doing it every year or anything like that. So so like just we got our soundboard going. We got to test out our video equipment. We got that. I'm using our camera right now for those of you watching the YouTube video. We're having people who are volunteering to help us come and help us. Luckily, the building, they're letting us get in there a week early to do a rehearsal service, which I am so thankful for. Like, if we had to do everything on that day, I probably would be going a little crazy right now, because we've never put the sound equipment together. I mean, I had a few people helping me with it this weekend, and it still took a couple hours. So it's one of those things, like, I feel like once we figure it out, it won't take that long, but we got to figure it out first. So
yep. Which we will. It'll come in time. But yeah, I'm excited. I think one of the things that is going to be unique, something that I really haven't seen like a church Sunday morning do, and something I think I've seen like a conference happen, but we are doing a 3-part one sermon thing. I don't even know how to describe it.
We're tag teaming the sermon, which could be awesome. It could be horrible. We'll see.
No, it's gonna be great. I'm stoked for it because we're flying out, Pastor Alicia and Josh, to come out and preach with us and just spend the weekend with us and celebrate it. And I'm stoked to kind of do this tag team sermon where the three of us each get to kind of speak our voice and to share it. What's been wonderful is all three of us have been able to be preaching through this summer season of pre-launch. And so all of the current people who have joined us know who our faces and our voices are. If you guys haven't been watching anything else, you're just a podcast viewer, you can head on over to our website, onto our little blog, and it's got kind of all the sermons up to this point that we've had between Ryan, Alicia, and myself. And it's just, I'm stoked for that. I think it's going to be so unique, but at the same time, it's going to be so refreshing. And again, it's one of those things where one of our goals is to innovate. One of our hopes is to help move the church forward into new arenas. And sadly enough, one of the ways to do that is to share the pulpit. That's not a dig on any pastor who might be listening or anybody I've ever worked with. That is not what I'm saying, but it's the reality of how churches are. You hire your pastor and they preach 54 Sundays a year because they
That's
have
only
to do
52 weeks.
I know, because they have to do Sunday night services and they have to do some extra stuff. Back in the day, it was Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night.
Oh yeah, I know.
Preach 3 times a week. But like, the 48 sermons a year, and you take some vacation time, and then whichever Sunday is National Youth Pastor Sunday, which is either, the last Sunday of the year or 4th of July. Right?
Sunday after Thanksgiving.
Sunday after Thanksgiving. Yeah, all those.
Or the Sunday after 4th of July. That also counts.
Yeah. There's a couple moments there where it's like, those are the Sundays where we let the other pastors preach. Again, not a dig. It's just the reality of like so many people's experience in ministry. And, it's a joke more than anything, but just to try new things. Right before we jumped on, Ryan had actually mentioned how we already have conversation with another pastor on our district who we hope to invite and provide opportunity to preach. And it's exciting, to be able to have this space. And kind of goes back to the bivocational. Yeah. We can help train people and provide them that opportunity of like, man, it has been a really hard month and I really need the 3rd Sunday off in September because I'm tired. Who is available? Oh man, we have this list of people. And so all of us can rest, and all of us, and it's not just rest, like I'm going to take the Sunday off, but like I can go to church and be involved.
Yeah.
And there's no stress of, okay, I'm preparing my message, and did I run it through 2 or 3 times this morning when nobody was listening, or, do it in the mirror. Did I prepare enough? Did I do this enough? Or a number of things. Did I write it? Did I spend enough time on Saturday finishing writing my sermon?
Yeah.
Which has happened. But
yeah, I think it's I don't know. It's just a new way of doing things. And yeah, like you said, I don't think I wouldn't even attempt to say that, it's the right way. I just think it's a new way. And I appreciate the way that, we, I like preaching, but at the same time, preaching can be stressful. Like, and especially if you're like, you're just sitting at your job and you're just like, Sunday's coming again, like I don't want to get to be where like preaching is a chore, I think it's like, I think too often we as pastors have kind of trained people to think that preaching is our job, when in reality, preaching is it's a part of our job. It's not the thing that we do. It's one of the things that we do. And I think when we share that responsibility, it communicates to our people too that, hey, there's more to pastoring than just preaching. So and actually one of the lists that we have for, maybe we'll do it for our next podcast, but one of the things we want to talk about eventually is just kind of how we preach at the table and how it's a little bit different. I want to get my preaching down. I'm kind of hitting the 20-minute mark every time. I'd like to be closer to 15. which for most pastors is like crazy talk if you're preaching a 15-minute sermon. But we'll talk about why that is important for us, why we actually want to go shorter rather than longer. But I'm excited about for our launch. I think we're getting there. I think we're doing good stuff. I think it's going to be busy, which is good.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's going to be stressful. So yeah, if we can, if that kind of goes into prayer requests, if you guys can pray for us,
Yes.
that would be great. Also, while I'm thinking about it, because you mentioned something that a couple of times too. We've had like 4 or 5 people in the last month or two reach out to us because they've discovered our podcast, or a friend of a friend told them about us or whatever. I'm going to make a Facebook group. And so when you're listening to this podcast, hopefully we'll have it in the notes or something like that. I want to make a Facebook group specifically for people who want to plant house church, micro church, kind of smaller minded. And specifically, all the people who have reached out to me have been Nazarene, which is our denomination. So I'm going to make probably like a NASBO house / micro church group. So jump in that group. We want to have conversations. It's one of those things that I mean, let's just be real. Like, you don't really think that people are actually listening to this stuff. it's it's been great. It's been great to get feedback and hear from people from Canada and Kentucky and Florida, Ohio, yeah, Michigan, and they've all just reached out and they've said, hey, we've been thinking about doing this too. And so if anything, like, we're kind of the guinea pigs, which is fine. But I'm encouraged that other people are thinking about doing this, that hopefully we can share our good ideas and tell people, warn them against our bad ideas along the way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, obviously praying is a big part of church planting, and specifically this podcast. We've tried our best to keep our endings similar within praying for one another and kind of exposing some of that stuff that it's hard to talk about. It's kind of hard to shine the lights on, but we like to be vulnerable. We think it's important, and we believe and trust that you guys do pray for us. And so we appreciate all of the prayers that we have received. I know that there's been many requests that have been answered in different ways, whether that was a yes or a no, or maybe God revealed to us his will in those areas, and we appreciate it. I think for me right now, I'm trucking through this next training, and everyone is very optimistic that by November, early December, I will be done training. Praise the Lord, which means that I will be in the next shift bid, which might switch to a year. So next year, I might have an entire year of the same schedule, which would be heaven.
Well, I think it'll depend on what schedule you get.
This is true. This is true. But we've already got some new people below me. So my whatever you want to call it, seniority is already growing as the days go by, which is great.
Nice.
But yeah, I think that's definitely the big one. 2 is, I mean, we're raising a toddler, which those of you who have done that or are doing that understand. So that's a big prayer. And just, I think, I mean, life is good. I think at this point, we've really kind of I don't know, moved on and recovered from our miscarriage. It is a desire of Rochelle and I's heart. We do want to be pregnant again, and so it's in God's timing, and we know that we're not alone in this. So many people do have those days, those moments of life that suck, but God will provide. And so just that, pray for our family, however that might be, whether it's just our marriage, our family, or the future of the Cherry Homes.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. And yeah, if you guys are listening and you want to reach out and let us know you want us to pray for you, we'd be happy to do that as well. It'd be good to hear from input from people. So yeah, I mean, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Rate us in your podcast app of choice. We'd love to hear from you. In Anchor, I think you can still do a voice message, so that'd be cool if somebody wanted to want to do that. I mean, it could even be like somebody playing like a joke on us or something like that. I just think it'd be cool to get a message.
Is there anything that we can be praying for you about though, Ryan? I didn't want to skip you there.
Oh no, I mean, I talked about the church plant and our launch Sunday specifically for me. Yeah, I think it's just that it kind of goes back to what we talked about in the beginning, just time management and trying to make sure that continuing to work towards the plant at the same time, work my other job and do my best work there as possible and spend time with my family and my wife and all that other good stuff. So yeah, it'd be good to hear from you guys.
For sure. Like Ryan was already saying, you can find us on all our socials at the Table Naz. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and LinkedIn and Nextdoor. I'm just kidding. Just name off all of them. And of course, at our website.
What would we do on LinkedIn? That
I
would
don't
be
even
weird.
know. I don't even have one. It's like my dad asked me, "Where's your LinkedIn?" I don't know. I have a job. I'm fine. But you can also go to our website at thetablenaz.church, where there is so much more information about us. You have some bios, you have some history, you've got some information, and of course our blog, where you can find all of our past episodes, where you can find our sermons and some fun photos and some things of hey, what this Sunday looked like, what we're doing. Guys, we are so thankful to share these moments with you, to be a part of this podcasting experience. We appreciate your prayers, and we're so thankful for your listens and your responses each and every week. We love you. We continue.
We'll try to do another podcast soon.
Yes, that is the hope. We'll be putting out episodes as we can, but as we said in this episode, bi-vocational ministry is different.
No joke.
So friends, we will get to those more consistent schedules, I hope, here soon. More episodes to come, and more guests. I think there's plenty of opportunity to have some more people on and discuss some ministry philosophy and planting styles. But we'll get there. We love you. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, bye.